and welcome to Ptv World special transmission on the developing situation between India and Pakistan. And we heard the DG ISPR giving a detailed press conference just hours ago outlining the links of Indian state-sponsored terrorism and the way that, of course, India has been actively engaged in terrorist activities in the region and in Pakistan in particular. And we saw this, of course, in the aftermath of what has happened with regards to the Pahalgam incident, and then, of course, the unilateral measures taken by India, following which we saw that misadventures towards Pakistan were also undertaken, to which, of course, the state and the military leadership of the country has clarified that Pakistan will be responding in a befitting response with, of course, a manner and time of their own choosing. And this is particularly important as Pakistan reserves the right to do so under Article 51 of the UN Charter, and something, of course, that has been outlined in detail by the DGISPR, giving a briefing on the links of Indian state-sponsored terrorism, as well as, of course, the details of which the response that Pakistan has made earlier with the kind of aggression that we've seen by the Indian side, in which, of course, 5 Indian jets were downed and about 35 drones in the following day were also neutralized by Pakistan. This is very, very important given the kind of responsibility and restraint that Pakistan has been showing for quite some time now, and to, of course, also refute the false propaganda coming out of Indian media, which is, of course, something that we've seen happen after the Pahalgam attack, but taking on a ridiculous spin also in the kind of ways and the kind of news that seems to be coming out from Indian channels. And, of course, the DGISPR clarified that both national and international journalists were actually taken to the sites which have been targeted by India, and it has been clarified and made sure that everybody gets to see the sites that have been targeted, which are civilians, which are holy sites, and, of course, which has resulted in the loss of civilian deaths, including that of children. And so these days raise important questions to Indian claims and false allegations without evidence, for which we have seen happen from within India, to make sure that the international community is apprised about the current situation, apprised about what is really going on, and, of course, bring forward the false propaganda of Indian media. So we're going to be taking a look at what that means and how the situation is currently developing, and what will be Pakistan's response moving forward, and how exactly will this be something that can be also utilized in the ways in which the world is calling for de-escalation, and the kind of actions that are required on both India and Pakistan's part in terms of making sure that everybody is aware of the truth, and that Pakistan is able to respond with the full right that it reserves to do so. For this and more, as always, in the studios, I've been joined by senior analyst Farrukh Pitafi and Raja Faisal, and we will also be joined online by the former Foreign Minister of Pakistan, Hina Rabbani, Khar, who's going to join us later, and also by Brigadier retired Mr. Nawaz, who is senior analyst. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us and being a part of the discussion. And Faisal, let me start with you first with reference to what has happened and the kind of presser that we have heard the DGISPR, who's outlining and detailing almost every single day the kind of situation that is developing, and, of course, making it very clear to both the national and international audiences as to what really is going on. And now, of course, we've seen that the false propaganda coming in from the Indian media is getting worse and worse day by day, and they're just calling out blatant accusations towards Pakistan, which is, of course, very, very important to refute. And while, of course, they may be ridiculous, but what is the way that it's being perceived by both the national and international media, particularly the international community, as to what is really going on?
First of all, Indian media, they have turned themselves into a joke, a living joke, and even the names like Barkadat and many more who are considered as senior journalists, they have simply turned themselves into a joke. And now we are seeing that everyone is coming up with apologies because they were misinformed about last night. I think it was their design. It was the feed was actually given by RAW itself. They just wanted to create and show chaos, that there is some kind of chaos in Pakistan, and that's what their design has always been. They always dream about creating chaos in Pakistan. Whereas if we take the example of Pakistan, everything was as normal as it has always been. They have been claiming about downing all of the naval ships of Pakistan, and now they had attacked Karachi, and they are sitting in Karachi, and people of Karachi are roaming around at the eateries, and they are having their late night lunch. And if we talk about overall Punjab, especially Lahore, they started claiming that Indian military has entered into Punjab, and they are nearly reaching Lahore, And these kind of claims they were making, and then they were claiming that somehow there was a bomb blast on the in the Prime Minister House, and Prime Minister House has been moved out of Prime Minister House and nobody knows his location and all. And frankly, I mean, yesterday when I finished my show and when I went from here, that is the route I actually take, and Prime Minister House comes on my left hand side, and I couldn't see anything out there. My vehicle was the only vehicle out there because I leave in the middle of the night, right? So all of these claims, why? Because to me, I think the India lost this war. I would call it a war because it was waged by India on Pakistan. India lost its war within the first 1 hour and 7 minutes when their air raid was turned into a debris, and bird after bird got hit by Pakistani PL-15 missiles. And suddenly all of the airborne fighter jets, they were called back. Reason being, the moment one of the planes got hit, as soon as he took off, and he was of course marked down and he was locked, and after 7 kilometers of its travel after taking off, it got hit. So this was the magnitude of professionalism displayed by Pakistan's armed forces, especially Pakistan Air Force that day, and they knew that they are busted. As soon as they are getting in the air, they are getting busted. So what they had to do is they simply got into their hidings, and they, since that day, they have never sent in one plane airborne in a fighter jet I'm talking about in India. Why? Because they are scared of fighting. They are scared of fighting. That's why the next day we saw that they have been sending all of these drones and unmanned drones. Why? There are two reasons. Number one, they are scared of crossing into Pakistan because they know that they will get hit and they would be part of debris somewhere. And second reason is them Harop drones. Yesterday even we talked about it, and today once more I want to talk that they sent in just to figure out where Pakistan's air defense pickets were. And with this particular drone Harop, this actually, as soon as the missile initiates from the air defense systems, it gives the exact location, pinpointed location back to its control room, and that's what India wanted to do. After this, what India had planned is that once we will achieve all of the information, then we'll start busting and we'll start sending missiles towards all of these locations, and then it would be favorable situation for us to go in the air, and then we can do something. Till then, of course, they were not ready to fight. Yesterday they were not ready to fight. They sent in of course the drones, and last night of course they knew that even drones are getting busted. So last night they couldn't fight anywhere, so they thought, let's fight on the on the media. And that's what was happening. First they claimed that Pakistan has attacked. I mean, we are saying that we didn't attack you, and you are saying no, you are attacking. If we are not attacking, who's attacking you? Is there a third party that is actually attacking you? And they are so scared that they are actually claiming that, oh, we've been attacked, and now we are repelling that attack, and all over Pakistan there is simply chaos, and that's it. Integration of Pakistan, and every lie possible they had, and they have not even spared the people like their High Commissioner in London. He was sitting as one of the prominent channels of the world, Sky News, and he was showing the blatant lies out there to Yalda Hakim. She is considered as one of the most prominent journalists in the world, and even she couldn't figure out at that time, and now of course she has come to terms with the reality, and I expect her that in her next show she can call this very man, very learnedly man who's sitting in London as of course India's High Commissioner in there, ask him to come in the studio once more and show that picture again, and ask him the questions which are highlighted in today's presser. Today's DG ISPR's presser was marvelous. All three professional generals They were sitting there and they were giving every single proof of whatever has happened since the day one.
Yeah.
And to me, I think this is the way to go forward. All of the international media that was present there, they were praising that this is what you call the real facts, this is what you call the real knowledge, this is what you call the real material to be shown to the people, not the fake lies, not the fake news, which they have been, of course, being propagated by the Indian side, and to show the soft image. I mean, I have nothing personal against them two female, officers, one from Indian Navy and one from Indian Air Force, but they are using them very negatively. Why? Because they are trying to show to the world that a softer image, right? But this is not softer image. You are making them very worthy officers, making them speak lies in front of the world. What kind of credibility they will be having in their own service and to their families and to the people at large? I mean, literally, this India is going bonkers since the day they have started this madness, and I'm very glad that this kind of very professional and apt presser that was there from
Right.
DG ISPR's office and his colleagues, worthy colleagues, and now I think everything is crystal clear, and
Right.
there should be more of these pressers so that the
Absolutely.
world knows the truth.
Absolutely. Let us also welcome in the transmission former Foreign Affairs Minister, Ms. Hina Rabbani. Khar. Thank you very much for joining us, Ms. Hina, and being a part of this transmission. And I want to ask you, with reference to what we have seen in the presser today by the DGISPR as well, the kind of evidence that has been put forward of Indian involvement in state-sponsored terrorism, and refuting, of course, all the baseless allegations that have been put towards Pakistan. Very, very important, particularly for our international audiences. But I want your take on how much of this is impacting the way that the international community, particularly important allies in the region, are looking at the current situation.
Look, one can look at this from a real politic sort of lens, or one can look at it from a more romanticized version of how the world should be. I think the world is becoming a cruder and cruder version of, itself and the international order that was celebrated, and anyone who followed it, anyone who followed international law, was generally, considered to be, amongst the comity of nations, had more respect. I think we have moved away from that world, and a world where, you know, interest, very, very hardcore interest, and great power competition, whatever you want to call it, is determining countries' place in the larger scheme of things. And I think this whole thing of India being given the net security provider has given it an impunity which has now outlived almost a decade and a half. So this probably started, 2010 onwards, and then when Prime Minister Modi came, he made it more and more prominent. And now the type of hysteria, ultra-nationalist nonsense, saying really reputable, what were considered to be in the past reputable Indian journalists, talking about Karachi having been taken over by Indian forces, and next day not even bothering to correct themselves, and the world, happily moved on. So I think India has clearly discredited itself in people who really look at military, who look at military strength. You know, I could name a few people, and if you look at what they're writing about this has actually opened up a clear disparity or a emerging strength of technology that was used by Pakistan, and how this has perhaps opened up a whole debate on what is considered to be Rafale, considered to be unbeatable. Now, Indian competence, or the lack thereof, meaning Indian incompetence, has made the unbeatable very beatable by Pakistan's competence. Now, serious people are still looking at that. But the word uncertainty has become a word of narrative shaping. So, Indian, or actually the Indian foreign minister, a country which says that Kashmir is an integral part of India, one would normally ask the question, by which international law? One would typically, as I have repeatedly said, India is a rogue state which is now showing increasing terrorist tendencies. What is terrorism? Terrorism is that illegally you go and use violence. What has India done? It has illegally used violence. But I think for Pakistan's sake, more than convincing each other and Pakistanis, we have to try and beat this narrative on not narrative. I would not like to look at it as a war of narrative because I think Pakistan doesn't need to be narrative heavy or win. Pakistan has to be truth heavy. Pakistan has to be, a win which is based on truth. So our reality, our truth, our questioning the right questions has to get out there in the world. You know, for me, this is a big game of matter because for 3 days I was stuck at an airport, unable to enter the airspace of my own country. What had my country done for its airspace to have to be forced to be closed? Because one mad man and an ultra nationalist, extremist person who has taken over the net security provider for the region, who can't even protect themselves, who cannot even protect internal security to what they consider to be an integral part of India, and then who cannot even, who once they do an aggressive launch, cannot have the defense with the most sophisticated technologically advanced gadgetry to not get every time they come into contact with Pakistan, they get rejected. Meaning it's kind of incompetence at a very, very high level, right? But what do you do when you can lie, with such, lie through your tweet, as they say? Nothing happens. We will tell, and it is really interesting still to see there's still some discerning people within the Indian life. And I was just some of the ex-foreign secretary who talked about how they found it in the current dispensation find it inopportune to tell the Indian people the truth because it may not be electorally beneficial to do so. So we are living in a world where any preposterous lies, if they're repeated by mad and what used to be sane elements of society enough, that becomes their truth. Matlab, the madness that we experienced yesterday in the name of Indian media, do you expect me to waste my time commenting on it?
Absolutely. No, I totally understand what you're saying. But Ms. Hina, I also want your take on the ways that this is going to be perceived and or if acted upon by any members of the international community. While we are, of course, saying India is a rogue state, like you mentioned, or, of course, the kind of involvement in terrorist activities that exists, we have shown with evidence. But at the heart of all of this, with the current situation also developing, is the issue of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and the issue of what happened in 2019 with the unilateral revocation of its special status. And we saw all of those things continue to happen despite being in violation of international norms, UN Security Council resolutions, continue to happen because of the economic interests of countries, for example. So I want your take in terms of how much of whatever evidence Pakistan is putting forward still is going to impact the way countries are going to deal with India with post this current scenario. Countries like the US, countries like the UK, how are they going to then look at this current situation, even with the understanding of what India is capable of?
Look, we have to look at all of this from the lens which is that of aggressive realism in some way, that everybody looks at what positions they take. But I do have to say that you talked about 2019, it was actually in 2016 when they revoked the commitments that they had given to the Kashmiri people. And 2019, they made an extremely dangerous precedent of one nuclear state coming across the settled area, across the internationally recognized international borders, and doing strikes inside Pakistan, and then losing its fleet, some fighter jets, and a fighter pilot in the process who landed up in Pakistan. So, despite that, they celebrated it as a win. This is the type of delusional hysteria that is India today. Now, your question was, can we convince? Look, I don't think we have to be reactive by matching hysteria with hysteria, delusion with delusion, craziness with craziness. We have to be the opposite of India right now. It is our right to defend our sovereign borders. We have the right to exercise that right. No country should be able to do what to do in terms of preserving your sovereignty and the life of civil against a rogue agent, even a state, and a very blatant state, and a very large state, yes. That is your right. That's the national law, guys. How you do it must be the confines of international law and European law and the correct behavior. We need to separate ourselves. Behavior. So this is what we need to do, whether it's internationally, nationally. I think this is really upon us to be the country, other countries, but yeah, this is the point I wanted to make. From 2019 to now, if you look at the difference in the statements that have been given by pretty much every country, including the United States of America. What did the President of the United States of America say on Indian respect to Pakistan territory? He said it is shameful. You can see in that. He actually said this is shameful. And what's happening over there? That is Pakistan, multiple missile strikes. They are certainly not same time. Uh, as I say, no questions asked kind of support. Every country now realizes, look, do not forget that in this time, meanwhile, between 2019 till 2025, India has shown its rogue tendencies to more than Pakistan. You have seen Canada cry out loud about extrajudicial killing inside Indian territory. You have had the US point it out. So now this rogue India is exposing itself, and I wish I could say all we have to do is sit and let them expose themselves and show their extremity. But when they attack inside our sovereign borders, I think the right to retaliate remains with us. When they attack civilians against Geneva Convention and humanitarian law, that cannot be a norm that we can learn to live with. So I think we have to remain this whole this to respond because there is demand. Nobody ever, smart states do not respond on demand. They respond when the time is right. They respond when it is feasible and useful for them to do so, and when the messaging and the precedent that they want to set has a chance of clearly being set. So I honestly think I am actually very aggrieved right now because I had hopes for this region, and I do believe that in the body of Prime Minister Modi and his entire Janta, if you want to call it, or whatever coterie of people who sort of have taken India towards this path, they have not only damaged India's credibility, they have damaged the well-being, development, normalcy of the entire region. And now increasingly, they're becoming a threat to the world. I mean, the country Canada, many, many oceans away, look at their relations with India because they had the guts to call India out. So I think this will eventually play out for India's credibility to be completely lost. They have lost a large part of it. As I said, yesterday, the hysteria that we all saw emanating from India. I mean, do you have respect for it? They are forced to still, saying the right thing. But I genuinely, I look at these things very closely. If you look at the statements given post 2019 and you look at the statements which have been given now, there is a world of a difference. It's almost like we're talking about two different worlds.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Hina Rabbani, for joining us and being a part of this discussion and sharing your valuable inputs. Let us also welcome in the transmission Brigadier Retired Mr. Haris Nawaz, who's joined us online. Thank you very much, Brigadier Sab, for being a part of the discussion. And I want your take first on the DG ISPR's presser earlier today with reference to what we have seen. In particular, of course, the way that the evidence has been put forward. While, of course, there's a lot of discussion going on in terms of the drones entering into Pakistani territory, but it has been clarified in this particular presser as well, the ways in which Pakistan's army and particularly the Air Force have responded with tact and with a lot of sense in terms of what needs to be done, of course, with the right to respond to still being in Pakistan with reference to Article 51, a very, very important aspect, of course, in whatever retaliation will there be from Pakistan.
ISPR elaborate very briefly in everything they have covered with, of course, there were Air Force officer and even all officer was there. It was a very comprehensive briefing. But the main thrust of that was that Pakistan has shown a lot of restraint, shown a lot of responsible nuclear state. And along with that, DGISPR has been keeping the nation knowing everything, every step. I think 3 times in a day he has been coming on here and explaining and keeping your people informed what was happening around it. And that's very important. And it's other way around if you see what else has happened in India, how their media and their officers, they have been misleading the public. I mean, today, I think by today evening, Karachi half should have gone. Karachi Port Naval Base is gone. and then Lahore, Islamabad, and Lahore. They've been a lot of problems going over there, and I think they've gone in Kashmir. I mean, you can't believe what they've been talking about it, and any sensible people will never do it. And then they said they've downed Pakistan. One F-16 pilot has been arrested. Then they say two, the J-17, they have been downed. And then there were a lot of stories like the way they were going to start war. I mean, their public, I think they are now asking questions. They have miserably failed now. What all is happening in India, the Indian government, Indian people, Indian journalists, Indian all families, they are asking that where are those attacks? What happened to Pakistan? Everything is normal in Pakistan. So they don't know how to manage all this thing, and nobody can believe it. One thing is that then, of course, Pakistan has shown a lot of strength, but definitely the way you must have heard it, DG has said that somebody has to be accountable for those children, those who have been killed, like 2, 3 years, boys and girls, then women, 33 persons have been shaheed, and of course, I think 63, 67, they are injured. The India has to pay for it. Asia has to be answer for this, and nobody should say that we will not take revenge. But the only thing is, India is requested. He has been isolated. They're asking every nick and corner to please come and mediate. We don't want further escalation. We want de-escalation. So this is a state of Indian Army, Indian Air Force, and Indian government. They have been totally isolated. Previously, if you remember, whenever there was a even Pulwama incident or it is Suri, Pathankot, most of the country would support India. This is the first time no country has supported India. And that is a moral ascendancy for Pakistan. I think Pakistan has shown a lot of diplomacy. Then we have shown strength. We have behaved like a really a responsible, mature nuclear state with very firm decision certain things that we will react. We take act of war as water terrorism, which India has suspended Indus Water Treaty. And then what all we are going to do. And then how we downed the 5 aircraft, including 3 Rafale. If you remember, Mr. Rajnath then got the plane in France. So they were all taking it like there was some saint thing they were getting at both. They were keeping some lemon and the nariyal they were keeping, and there was so many things. And now what has happened with them? I think the company, Rafale company, is more worried. They're going to ask them, please return these. You have let us down. Our shares have gone down. So this is a state of Indian affair now happening, and I think we have shown our strength in all militarily and also diplomatically. In all our air force, I think there must be a lot of credit. Our military, what they have done in Kashmir, they have destroyed their brigade headquarters. They have destroyed their all posts. They have shown their white flag. They were on our mercy, and they requested that don't kill us. Then they raised their hand over there. Then even today, and the way they brought their these drones. Please understand, people not understanding. I think if they emit certain signals, that has to be very, very careful, because then you show our own these are radar sites, our anti-aircraft sites, so that they picked up and then later on they were destroyed. So that's why we were very careful. But just imagine all 77 drones were brought down. It's only one exploded with slight damage. I think this is a big credit to Pakistan military, Pakistan Air Force, and Pakistan Air Defense
Yeah.
System.
Absolutely, and that is very, very essential. And Farrukh, with reference to, of course, this particular presser, when we talk about the way that it's impacting the situation in terms of what's going on between India and Pakistan, and the way it's impacting the international audience, how integral was today's presser
I
in
think
that
it
sense?
was very integral, and I think that most of it has been covered already in discussion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there nothing you want to add?
I don't think, I think everybody has covered everything.
Sure. Brigadier Harris, I want your take with regards to what we have seen in terms of especially the 77 drones that you were earlier mentioning. That is really, really important, given us that it is an act of war. They've entered into the sovereign territory of Pakistan, and Pakistan has made it very clear that it's going to respond in a befitting manner at a time and manner of its own choosing. And I want your take on how much of that, in the ways that we see the current situation developing, is going to factor in the proportionate response that Pakistan will be giving.
You see, what I personally feel, Archana, frankly, if our friendly countries, they wanted de-escalation, then before India could carry out preventive strikes, that is the time they should have intervened. And before 6th and 7th night of May, so that then we could have said, okay, we will also not respond. And we never wanted to provoke. We said we will not provoke, we will not initiate, but we will react violently when India is going to do it. It's very simple. So, but now I'm sure that Americans have pushed Saudis also, and that's why the State Minister for Foreign Affairs has come and gone to India, and then he's come to Pakistan. I'm going to definitely they will request Pakistan to de-escalate. But one thing we must remember that we are on a very high moral ground. We have caused a lot of damage, not only to their air force, but to their myth also, and a lot of embarrassment to the Indian government, particularly Narendra Modi. What he was thinking, the way he was arrogant, the way he was going global terrorism, and those are things. And if at all Pakistan is put a lot of pressure, then at least we must hold a National Security Committee. In that, certain conditions should be laid. First, I think I still feel that some reaction from Pakistan is going to go. But in case the National Security Committee decide that, okay, we have done a lot of damage and this is what is the condition, we have to accept it, okay, then fine. We should say with 4 or 5 conditions. Number one, India will never talk about suspension of Indus Water Treaty, number one. Number two, India will never ever go for false flag operation and blame Pakistan unless they hold an independent inquiry and then send the details and then we decide and what action we have to take. Number three, they have to ensure that they will never ever interfere in Balochistan. They will never support any terrorist organization of PLA, BLF, and BNA and Majid Brigade. They will never ever go to Balochistan in Afghanistan and support TTP and the Khorasan, Afghanistan. And they will never do terrorism in Pakistan. I think we have to be very firm on these things. Otherwise, they will go do again. Either we go respond fully this time, and then if somebody want, we can go for de-escalation so that they learn a lesson. Otherwise, if now we accept their de-escalation, again they will do it. So these 4 or 5 conditions our National Security Committee says, then I think, and somebody should be guarantor for that India will never do it, then we should accept it. Because now we have a victory, we have a moral ascendancy, our 24 to 40 million people have won, and they have shown unity. That's why India is worried. And they are approaching every nick and corner to please tell Pakistan not to respond. This is a condition. Look at them. And I feel the public of Indian is going to give lot of a beating to Mr. Narendra Modi. And then he should be taken to the Gujarat railway station and given a cocoa for a tea, and he should be kept there. Okay, this is your place. Better not keep selling tea the way you used to do earlier. That is what he deserves, it, honestly. Because he is the one who is, along with his 3%, Amit Shah, Rajnath Singh, and Ajit Doval, Akhand Bharat system, they're taking it, and Dolly's they're taking it, because they want no one else there, no religion, only Hindu. And that is also upper caste, no lower caste. So I think people are busting out. The way they have done this 3-4 days. I mean, heard myself, and now it's funny. We have downed F-16. Pilot has been arrested. We're going to show it photograph. JF-17 Thunder, we have downed. So what the hell you are doing it? Well, we have attacked Lahore. We have attacked Karachi. We have attacked Naval Base Karachi. I mean, this is funny. Can you do it? And this is what. And the next day, now people are in India are asking questions. They are not buffoons. They were quite educated people, they were moderate Hindus. So I think he has been totally let down and he is highly embarrassed. His place is now Gujarat railway station for selling of tea. This is what I personally believe.
Absolutely. Faisal, you had a question.
Yeah, a question. While Brigadier Harris was talking about what should be put on the table while we are having negotiations in terms of ceasefire and in terms of course, everything goes normal. There should be another addition to it. I fully agree with Brigadier Harris, whatever the propositions he's come up with. I just want to add one more thing, and that is of abrogation of 370 and 35A must be reversed, and that should be on the table too. And I think that's how it should be. Pakistan is not having one right to, of course, go against India right now. And of course, when we talk about retaliation, it's not the one right Pakistan has. Pakistan has two rights. Reason being, Pakistan has a first right because with IWT, cancellation of IWT, of course, it's an act of war. And the second one is that they, of course, killed our innocent Pakistani citizens, and that requires a retaliation, and that's the second one. And I think we can create another one. The third retaliation should be for the drones which were being sent in towards Pakistan and endangering the lives of civilians in Pakistan. So I think all of these rights, Pakistan, if somebody requires us to give up these three rights, then of course India has to come to terms with all of the gimmicks that were being played in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir till now in the Modi era, and India has to go back to the position where it had all started.
Then I want to add one thing, if you have time. Sana, can you hear me?
Yes, Harris, can you hear me? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, you see, another one thing is, you see now, one thing is very clear. The way we used to say that Kashmir now is highlighted as a real flashpoint, a nuclear flashpoint. And it has been internationalized again by Indian stupidity. So this is a God-given opportunity, and I think now we must move a resolution again to United Nations, because now Shibla Agreement is redundant and we should suspend it. That now Kashmir should be given right for plebiscite, because then this now world has realized, honestly, this is a flashpoint and this has to be diffused. And the only way to diffuse is that we must accept and United Nations should carry out plebiscite for the Kashmiris to settle this issue once for all.
Brigadier Harris, do you think that that's something that will actually happen? Because how is the world really looking at the issue of the Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir?
You see, the point is now it's a United Nations responsibility. Why do we have a United Nations military observer group appointed on the line of control? Because they recognize that it's a disputed territory, recognized by the United Nations. And it is a resolution that they have to be given a right of self-determination. Why not? Because this will remain a nuclear flashpoint. So it has to be resolved and to the aspiration of the people of Kashmir. We don't say that they should let them given a right, because this remained a nuclear flashpoint. And then of course with this, India had lost the right to go for 6 United Nations permanent members. They were trying all. I think they have caused damage tremendously to them. Previously, the whole world would support them, and this time, first time, no country, even American, they have not supported them. They have realized, they knew the exact story because of their chatted communication that India was at wrong. They have created a false flag operation and they have been led down miserably. The thief is caught stealing the things. That's the reason. So this is the time I think they have caused a lot of damage militarily, diplomatically, and morally for their own people.
Thank you very much, Brigadier Harris, for joining us and being a part of this transmission. Thank you, Faisal. Thank you, Farrukh, for joining us as well. That's all we have time for, but stay tuned to Ptv World for the latest developments.